Do you have a secret sister?
I believe I do have a sister out there.
This is the DNA test, and it says,
They were saying that I had a child and I kept it secret.
No matter how much Janet Jackson tries to move past it, the whispers about her allegedly having a child with James DeBarge refuse to fade away. For decades now, the rumor has lived on quietly in the background, resurfacing every few years with new claims, new voices, and renewed curiosity. And what keeps this story alive is not just fan speculation, but the number of people who insist they were close enough to know something was going on behind the scenes. Fans from the 1980s have long claimed they either saw Janet pregnant or heard conversations suggesting she was expecting a baby during her brief and troubled marriage to James DeBarge. According to these stories, the pregnancy was carefully hidden at a time when Janet's career was just beginning to rise, and any scandal could have derailed everything she was building. The idea that her team would go to extreme lengths to protect her image doesn't sound far-fetched to those who believe the rumor. What truly fuels the speculation, however, is the DeBarge family themselves. Over the years, multiple members of the family, including James DeBarge, have publicly stated that a child did exist. James has repeatedly claimed that Janet gave birth to a baby girl and that he was deliberately kept away. According to him, there were forces around Janet who were determined to erase him from the picture and keep the child hidden from the public eye. Despite Janet consistently denying the story, the persistence of these claims has made it difficult for the rumor to disappear. Some believe the truth will never come out because too many powerful interests were involved. Others think the mystery itself is what keeps people talking. Whether fact or fiction, the alleged child has become one of the most enduring and controversial legends surrounding Janet Jackson's private life, proving that some rumors, once planted, never truly die.
this is the DNA test, and it says the probability of relatedness is 96.7%. You didn't believe there'd be a match.
No way.
No way. If the latest whispers are true, then this story may have just taken its most dramatic turn yet. According to new claims circulating behind the scenes, James DeBarge may have finally made contact with the daughter he's insisted existed for decades. After years of being dismissed, laughed at, and labeled as unstable, some say James has now broken through to Janet in a way that never happened before. For years, James has repeated the same story, that he and Janet had a child together and that he was intentionally kept away. Critics chalked it up to addiction struggles and unresolved trauma, arguing that his claims were fueled by heartbreak rather than fact. But supporters always pointed out one thing: James never changed his story. No matter how much backlash he faced, the narrative stayed the same, which made some people wonder if there was more truth to it than anyone wanted to admit. Now, insiders allege that James may have finally been able to reach the woman believed to be his daughter. According to these rumors, the connection didn't happen publicly or through the media, but quietly, behind closed doors. That detail alone has sent speculation into overdrive. People are asking why, after all these years, something would suddenly shift unless there was a reason powerful enough to force the issue. Some believe Janet herself may have reached a point where maintaining silence became impossible. Others think the alleged daughter, now an adult, may have gone looking for answers on her own. Either way, the idea that James is no longer shouting into the void but actually being heard has completely changed how people view the situation. While nothing has been confirmed, the tone around James has noticeably shifted. Instead of ridicule, there's curiosity. Instead of dismissal, there's hesitation. If he truly has connected with his long-lost child, then what once sounded unbelievable may suddenly feel very real, and that possibility alone is enough to keep everyone watching closely.
If it's true, you'll find out when she's ready for you to find out.
I'm sure he feels betrayed. I'm sure he feels sad. I'm sure he feels disappointed. I'm sure he feels like he was robbed of that relationship with his daughter. But at the same time, I know my dad loves Janet till this day. I know that her family had a huge influence on her. And, you know, if she was pregnant, the only thing that I can think of was that they felt that she still had a very long career ahead of her.
Girl, this definitely isn't the first time James DeBarge, his family, or people who closely followed Janet Jackson back in the 80s have spoken up about the alleged existence of a secret daughter. This rumor has been floating around for decades, and every few years it resurfaces with new voices insisting they know something the public doesn't. Fans who watched Janet closely during that era have long claimed they noticed changes in her appearance, sudden disappearances, and carefully managed public appearances that fueled speculation. Something was being hidden. Members of the DeBarge family have also repeatedly backed James's claims, saying there was a child and that Janet went to great lengths to keep the situation private. According to them, this wasn't just gossip passed around by fans, but something discussed within their own family circles. Over time, these statements stacked up, making it harder for the rumor to simply fade away. Even people who weren't directly connected to either side have claimed they heard industry chatter confirming that a baby girl existed and was quietly placed out of the spotlight. Eventually, the noise became loud enough that Janet herself had to address it publicly. When she finally spoke on the issue, she shut the rumor down firmly. Janet stated that she would never be the type of person to keep a child away from their father, calling the idea completely ridiculous. She emphasized that anyone who truly knew her character would understand that she wouldn't do something so cruel or deceptive. Despite her denial, the controversy didn't disappear. Instead, it split public opinion. Some people took Janet at her word, believing the story was nothing more than an exaggerated myth that spiraled out of control. Others felt her response was carefully worded and didn't fully put the speculation to rest. To this day, the alleged secret daughter remains one of the most talked about mysteries tied to Janet's personal life, proving that once a rumor takes hold, even a direct denial isn't always enough to silence it.
They were saying that I had a child and I kept it secret. How could I keep a child from their father? I could never do that. That's not right. I don't know where that ridiculous idea came from.
Well, doesn't anyone else find it strange how Janet has always shut down those rumors? She's never once come out and said, "I don't have a child with James, period."
Where was the baby? Nobody saw a baby. I mean, she was there with us all day, every day. Where was the baby? Where? Who? Where?
They were saying that I was raising her daughter.
I couldn't believe it.
First, they were saying my niece Brandy was my daughter, and then I gave it to Jackie to raise.
Instead, she's relied on years of PR training to carefully sidestep the question. She's denied being the type of woman who would keep a child from their father, but she's never outright denied that a child exists. And for many people, that distinction matters. So if there really was a child, why would Janet feel the need to hide it? To understand that, you have to look at how chaotic her life was during that period. When Janet met James DeBarge in 1982, she was a rising star, the youngest member of the legendary Jackson family, already gaining attention from roles on shows like Good Times and Different Strokes. James, meanwhile, was part of the DeBarge family band, a Motown act riding high off hits like Rhythm of the Night and All This Love. They fell hard and fast, but according to insiders, Joe Jackson didn't see James as a boyfriend. He saw him as a liability. James was already struggling with addiction, and Joe feared the relationship would derail Janet's career and damage the family's carefully controlled image. Still, in 1984, Janet eloped and married James. The DeBarge family embraced her, but when Joe found out, all hell allegedly broke loose. Janet was only 18, James was 21, and Joe wasn't just her father. He was her manager, obsessed with control and legacy. This was also around the time Janet allegedly became pregnant. If that were true, revealing a pregnancy at 18 would have been catastrophic for the Jackson brand. Add James's worsening addiction and the tabloid frenzy of the 1980s, and secrecy may have felt like the only option. Janet later described the marriage as bleak, filled with arguments, addiction, and emotional strain. By March 1985, just 8 months later, the marriage was annulled. If a child did exist, protecting them from that chaos and from an unforgiving media may have felt necessary. Whether that's truth or speculation, the unanswered questions continue to linger.
Where was the baby? Nobody saw a baby. I mean, she was there with us all day, every day. Where was the baby?
James, for his part, never stopped believing that he had a daughter somewhere in the world. No matter how Janet tried to redirect the conversation or shut the rumors down, James remained consistent in his claim that he was the father of a child he had never been allowed to meet. Over the years, people criticized him, questioned his credibility, and blamed his struggles with addiction for what they called delusions. But James never wavered. He said again and again that he wasn't going to stop searching for his daughter, no matter how long it took. What made his story harder to dismiss was the fact that his family stood firmly behind him. Members of the DeBarge family publicly supported James and repeated the same message, that a child did exist and that they were intentionally kept away. According to them, this wasn't a misunderstanding or a rumor twisted by time. They claimed it was something discussed openly within their family and treated as fact. They often questioned why, if the story was completely false, so many people were instructed to stay silent. James's relatives also pushed back on the idea that his addiction invalidated everything he said. They acknowledged his struggles but argued that addiction didn't erase his memory or his lived experiences. In their eyes, it was too convenient for critics to dismiss James as unstable rather than confront the possibility that something uncomfortable had been hidden. Over time, James's persistence shifted how people viewed the situation. Instead of sounding like someone chasing attention, he began to seem like a man clinging to the one truth he believed mattered most. He spoke about the pain of knowing his daughter might be alive somewhere, growing up without knowing who he was or why he was absent. That emotional consistency is what kept the rumor alive. Whether James was right or wrong, his refusal to let the story die and his family's unwavering support ensured that the alleged daughter remained one of the most haunting mysteries tied to Janet and James's past.
Ever see Janet where you thought she was pregnant?
Yes. When the marriage was annulled, that Janet was pregnant. And James believed that as well.
You believe that there's a child.
I think we all believed that James and Janet had a child.
But now that enough time has passed, the energy around this story feels different. Word is that Janet has allegedly softened her stance and no longer minds James and their daughter finally getting to know each other, as long as it stays private. According to whispers, her biggest concern was never the connection itself, but the possibility of it being turned into a media circus again. And if that's true, it would explain why James and his family have noticeably stopped speaking about it publicly. Still, despite their silence, information has continued to leak into the streets, and many people feel vindicated. For years, James was painted as unreliable, written off because of his past struggles. Now, some believe time has proven that this wasn't just a rumor from a man battling addiction, but a real situation handled quietly to protect a child from chaos and dysfunction. And to be fair, many people agree, if a parent is unstable, distance can sometimes be an act of protection, not punishment. The alleged daughter is now grown. If she wants to meet her father, that choice is hers to make, without pressure or cameras involved. But fans who were watching closely back then swear there were signs.
This is the DNA test.
Some remember a young
says,
actress on Fame whose storyline abruptly ended when she appeared to be gaining weight only around her stomach. She was reportedly fired without explanation, chalked up to weight gain, despite looking visibly pregnant. Others recall magazine headlines announcing Janet and James were expecting a child, only for those stories to suddenly vanish. Not long after, control dropped and Janet reemerged reinvented. So what do you think? Was there really a child hidden away to protect her future? Or has this story grown larger than reality over time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.